Live broadcast of Better Life Lessons. I'm Dr. Stephen L. Pettis, the senior pastor and apostle here at BetterLifeFaith Church International, the ministry that teaches you a better way of living. And as always, those of you, if you desire prayer at this time, you can call us as the appears across the screen. We've got our Better Life prayer ministers. They are warriors. They are full of the Holy Ghost. They are full of faith, full of the Word of God. Just waiting to touch and agree and believe God for your miracle, for your breakthrough, or whatever it is you desire of the Lord. And even a special shout out to those of you, if this is your very first time viewing us. I often say there's no such thing as coincidence, but we believe in divine appointment, and this is your divine appointment. So God bless you. So let's welcome this national and international audience. And those, if you're viewing wherever you're at, around the country, around the world, in most parts of the country, it is warm. So here in the great city of Chicago, it's like index 100. But we still thank the Lord anyway. Amen. Let's get right on into the word on tonight. As most of you know, I've been teaching on the subject, planting your promise. And the initial series really began with having faith in God. But before I kind of get back into that, I kind of want to remind you of something that the Lord kind of instructed me to do tonight. And it's really a reminder of what I believe is the greatest hindrance to your faith. And during this series, one of the things I've repeatedly said was it takes courage to live by faith. It literally takes courage to live by faith. Because the opposite of courage is fear. And you see, fear can never be developed if you're still holding on. Faith can never be developed if you're still holding on to fear. Your faith can never be developed if you're still holding on to fear. So that's what I'm going to kind of open up and touch on a little bit on tonight, is this thing, fear. It's perhaps the strongest and the greatest hindrance to your faith. And I say that because faith and fear, it can't exist together. You're going to either have one or the other. They are two opposing forces. Now, let's go to 2 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, verse 13. And then we're going to quickly go to 2 Timothy 1 and 7. 2 Corinthians 4:13, it says, we having the same spirit of faith, according as it is written, I believed, therefore have I spoken. We also believe and therefore speak. So we having the same spirit of faith. Now let's go to 2 Timothy 1 and 7. 2 Timothy, 1st chapter, verse 7. Many of us know this by memory. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. Now, notice in both of those passages what faith and fear have in common. They are a spirit. Spirit of faith in 2 Corinthians 4:13, and spirit of fear here in 2 Timothy 1 and 7. Now, why is that important? Because first of all, spirits are eternal. Spirits are eternal. Spirits don't die. They are eternal. Okay? We got to understand that. Spirits are eternal. That's why when a person dies, their spirit don't. Their spirit, if they're born again, their spirit is with the Lord. If they're not, their spirit is in hell. Spirits are eternal. Fear is a spirit. It's eternal. One of the things when you read in Revelation, when it talks about things cast into the fire, it talks about liars and fearful, because lying is a spirit. Spirits are eternal. Okay? Also, too, not only are they internal, but they are invisible forces. Faith is a force. Fear is a force. Now, what do I mean when I say force? A force is an energetic, active power. An energetic, active power. Force has the ability to push and pull. A force is capable of making things happen. We saw that just the other day with the weather. It made stuff happen. Made roofs come off, made trees fall down. All right? Now, both faith and fear, they have to be induced through a person. In other words, faith and fear, it doesn't just appear, but it has to be invited. All right? Now, keep in mind what I just said, that it's an invisible force. Invisible force. Now, why is that important? Because you can't always detect fear. One good example of that is Job. And we know the story of Job. In the very beginning, Job, he didn't think he was in fear. You know, matter of fact, let's go there. Let's go to the first chapter of Job. First chapter of Job. And it opens up really with verse 1 with Job's relationship with God. Job 1:1 says, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. That man was perfect and upright and one that feared God and eschewed evil. Let me give you a few translations with that. That man was blameless and upright and one who feared God and abstained from and shunned evil because it was wrong. Another translation says, he was a good, honest man. He respected God and refused to do evil. Another translation says, he was a very good man. His character spotless. His integrity unquestioned. In fact, he so believed in God that he sought to honor him in all things. He deliberately avoided evil in all of his affairs. Wow. Now, we can all agree that Job was a good brother. You know, loved God. He was at church, he was in all the services at church. He was a tither, a giver, all of that. But what happened? See, that's important. It opens up with the type of, you know, Job was one of the folks who sleep in church. You know, who act one way at church and act something else on Tuesday. Because he said he deliberately avoided evil in all of his affairs. He sought to honor him in all things. He was a good brother. He was saved for real, if, you know. But something happened. Let's pick it up in verse 5. And it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about that Job sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings. He was a giver. Offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. This is about his children. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. This became a habit. All right? So this ain't nothing he just did every night. This became a habit. He continuously did this. Then verse 6 says, now there was a day when the sons of God, or the angels, came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, where you come from? No, it says, whence cometh thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? Or God is saying, it's not a question because God is omniscient. He knows all things. God is saying, you here for Job. You here for Job. So hast thou considered my soul Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth or hateth or avoid evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and says, does Job fear God for not for anything, nothing? Hast thou not made a hedge around him and about his house and about all that he has on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he had, and he will curse thee to thy face. This is what Satan said. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. Everything else, but don't touch him. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And then there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating. Now keep in mind, we gave Job's his spiritual resume. He was a brother who loved Jesus. You know, you understand what I'm saying. I'm just modernizing. And he wasn't trying to do no flaky, funny stuff. Him and God was like this. Because it is true. He was that close to God that God did have a hedge around everything with him. Then it goes verse 13. And then there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And then there came a messenger unto Job. Now we know Job was wealthy and rich and all of that too. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen was plowing, the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came to another and said, the fire of God has fallen from heaven and has burned up the sheep, the serpents, the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Now my mind would be first like, did you set the fire? Because how you know, how you get, that's that ghetto in me, I guess. Like, you know, how you telling me the story? How you avoid it? You know. Then while he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the Chaldeans made out of 3 bands fell upon the Campbells and have carried them away and slain the servant, stole his stuff, and with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also all of this is happening right after another. I always call Job, this was the worst day in the history of mankind. If you ever think you having a bad day, read Job, and you'll start shouting. Because nobody had it worse than Job in this one day. I don't care what happened to you. You didn't have it like this. Within a short period, this is all in one day. Verse 18 says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, a tornado, and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose, rent his mantle, shaved his head, fell down upon the ground, and worshiped, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And remember, with all of this, Job had a lack of knowledge. Now, people have used this verse always when things happen. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. And this is truly stated, but it's not a statement of truth. It's in the Bible, but it's not a statement of truth. That is not the truth. All right? So sometimes folks, they'll use that. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Yeah, that's what the Bible said, but it's not a statement of truth. Because Job had a lack of knowledge, and we learned later on that he did have a lack of knowledge, and he got some knowledge about things. So I say that because sometimes I still hear people saying that, you know. You know the Lord given, the Lord ain't took nothing. The devil did. But see, that's hard sometimes for us to come to grips with. All right? And it says, in all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Now let's keep it reading. Go to chapter 2, verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them, present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in earth. And it goes on basically the same thing. Perfect upright man, one that feareth God, escheweth evil. And still he holdeth fast his integrity. Although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. In other words, you got to understand, Job had a lack of knowledge, but he was not going to curse God. Even though he had a lack of knowledge, he had a sense not to do that. Like, Lord, regardless, I'm still trusting you. All right? And then Satan answers the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man has will he give for his life. And put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, it's like, how did the devil know this? How did the devil know all this? He knew it because Job said it. Remember, never forget, the devil, he's not omniscient like God. He's not all-knowing. I've said for many, many years, the devil is a flesh devil. He can shoot a thought to you, but he don't know what you're doing with that thought unless you act on it. So how does Satan know this? Job had to say something. Because he a flesh devil. The devil can't read minds. So how he know this? Job showed him. It's just like when any of us. How does the devil know our weaknesses? He saw it. He didn't get it out of your mind. He saw it in us in some kind of way. Either we acted or said it. All right? Now I'm going somewhere with this, so don't nobody, So then it says, so when Satan, verse 7, so when Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, he smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself with it, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. But she tripping. Verse 10, but he said unto her, you fool. Now, I know King James says, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. He said, fool. You trying to really get me messed up. Fool. That's it. Come on, we got to understand the tone here. Because even for her to say, all this, like, shoot, what kind of God, this is literally what she's saying. What kind of God allowed this to happen to you? You've been so faithful to him. Just cuss him and die. Now, if this was a hood, he'd say, your mama, I ain't getting nothing. No, I'm purposely painting a serious picture here. Job wasn't going for that. Even though he had a lack of knowledge, he was not going for that. So what shall we receive good of the land, and shall we not receive evil? And all of this did not Job sin with his lips. See, he wasn't going to do all that. Now, in reading all of this, Job induced the fear and fear invited Satan. Now, how do we know Job induced the fear? Go to Job, the 3rd chapter, verse 25. Job, 3rd chapter, verse 25. Finally, Job says, for the thing which I greatly fear is come upon me. Job didn't just have regular fear, he had great fear. Just like we know that there are dimensions and levels of faith, there are levels of fear. We know the Bible speaks of great faith. Job had great fear. It was that strong, that's why it caused those quick manifestations. Just like what great faith can do. Can cause quick manifestations. Great fear can cause quick manifestations. So for the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me. That which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet. So how did I say all this stuff? He told it. Because it began with these and like I said in the beginning, he didn't know he was in fear. He just probably thought, I'm just looking out for my kids. And that thing turned into fear, and he kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. He wasn't quiet. And Satan I smell fear. Let's go to Job chapter 6. Now, I know many of us know these passages. Job chapter 6, verse 24. Like I say, Job, in the beginning, he has a lack of knowledge here, but he got straightened out. 6th chapter, Job, verse 24. He tells the Lord, teach me, and I will hold my tongue. Why is he saying I'll hold my tongue? Because he's doing all that talking. Cause me to understand wherein I have erred. In other words, Lord, help me trace it back. See, because that's what it said. Help me to understand where I erred. Help me to understand where this started. See, because if you don't know where it started, you're going to repeat it again. So I'm modernizing what's actually being said here. Show me where I erred. Show me how this thing started. And then in verse 25, he said, because how forcible, is that word force? How forcible are right words. Wow. So as I said, in all of this, Job, a good brother, but he induced the fear, and fear invited Satan. And Satan will always respond to words of fear. Always. Amen. Now remember what I said in the beginning. Job, he didn't recognize the spirit of fear. Because what did I say? It's invisible. Faith and fear, it's an invisible force. He didn't recognize it because it's invisible. And as long as you have a lack of knowledge about fear, it will be difficult to locate it. And I'll add this, I've seen this over the years with some Christians. See, sometimes pride can hide fear. Fear will cause you to make unwise decisions. Fear will even cause you to even make destructive decisions. See, Job's fears, it spread it from one thing to another. It begins with his kids, on so. That happened. It went into his business. Then eventually went into his health. it, spread it. Now, why is this all important? Could it be that, let's just say, could it be the reason you're struggling in faith for your health is because you're carrying some fear about your family? Now, I've taught this many years before. Remember, fear tolerated is faith contaminated. You see, you can't activate faith if you're still holding on to some fear. You know, and that goes with anything. You know, say I'm trying to have faith for finances, but I'm afraid my spouse might leave me if I have an argument with him. I'm trying to put my faith on these building projects, but I got some fear that some members might leave. Sometimes we can know how faith works, but if you got a speck of fear there, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's why I think Job is one of the best stories, because this is somebody who, and we ain't saying folk don't love Jesus, not committed to the cause. But I'm trying to develop my faith here, but yet I still got that fear in the basement. Can't work. Cannot work. Can't work. That's why I say it's the strongest hindrance to your faith, because they can't operate at the same time. They are opposing forces. And sometimes, like I say, it's invisible. Sometimes if you don't know, you can't even locate it. You know, you'll think it's something else. It ain't no fear, I'm just concerned. It ain't no fear, I just don't like to be confrontational. And then that pride, that pride will be like, ain't no fear, ain't no fear. There's any speck of fear there, faith ain't going to work. That's why we're told throughout when we're doing this, shall not doubt in his heart. Shall not doubt in his heart. Shall not doubt in his heart. Now, I ain't coming down. I know that feeling. See, there's a reason why there's over 365 fear nots in the Bible. Because any fear will shut out your faith. Any fear. That's why you can't tolerate it on no level. No level. You can't have faith for finances and you fear in your health. You can't have, I believe in God for my health, but then you scared your children gonna act up. It doesn't work like that. Faith is not going to work. And the thing about it, many of us, we know the fundamentals, the principles. We know how faith works. But if there's fear there, that ain't good English. It's not going to work. Are we all right? Now keep in mind what I said too. Both faith and fear, it has to be activated. Let's go to Mark 4, 4th chapter of Mark. Now, like I said, that's what anything. That's why I used myself, really. I can't be having no faith for building projects. And then I'm looking out here hoping nobody leaves. It ain't going to work. I preach a sermon because I don't want nobody to get offended. Let me start giving back out the employee of the month. Won't work. Will not work. We kind of understand what it won't work. All right, 4th chapter of Mark. Let's look at verse 35, another familiar passage. Now, keep in mind what I'm saying. Faith and fear, they have to be activated. 4th chapter of Mark, verse 35 says, "On the same day when the evening was come, Jesus said unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship, and there were also with him other little ships. Then there arose a great storm of wind. The waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And Jesus was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and said unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish?" In other words, Jesus, don't you care? We are about to die. If that ain't fear, I don't know what else is. We are about to die. And you don't care. That's obviously fear and definitely no faith. You got the master on that. You don't care. So he arose and rebuked the wind, said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Now, one of the reasons Jesus is saying it, because if you read the previous verses, and I've kind of taught out of this Mark 4 in planning your promise with the parable of the sower and the reaper, the sower, sowing and reaping, Jesus taught that lesson about the kingdom, about sowing the word. If you read the previous verse, he taught this. Taught it to the people, and they talking about, it's a parable to you, but it's to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom. This is how it is. He said the word is the seed. Luke said it, but they heard it. And then now we're in a situation, you should have knew how to handle this. I just taught y'all this. And he said, why are you so fearful? How is it you have no faith when I just taught you this? And then verse 41, and they feared exceedingly and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey them? Now, the storm then calmed and everything. Now, why were they still in fear? Because fear is a spirit. For the most part, COVID is gone. Why is a lot of people still in fear? Because fear is a spirit. And it'll linger on if it's not cast out with faith. It's a spirit. And the only thing that can dismiss it is faith. Only thing. Because it's a spirit. All right? Now, let's go to 5th chapter of Mark. 5th chapter, Mark, verse 21. Now, notice what I'm saying. Faith and fear, they have to be induced by a person. The disciples, they induced the fear. Jesus induced the faith. It ain't going to just show up. 5th chapter, Mark, verse 21. And when Jesus passed over again by the ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him. He was near unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. Now, whose faith is this? Jairus. He's induced some faith. This is the condition of my daughter, because he said he besought him greatly. This is the condition of my daughter. But if you come, she's going to live. She's near death. Which means Jairus pretty much in his mind knew as he left she could be dead right now. Because how much is near death to near death? And Jesus went with him. And much people followed him and thronged him. And then a certain one, which had an issue of blood 12 years, suffered many things, many physicians, spent all that she had, didn't get better, but rather grew worse. All right, which means she about to die too. Because I don't care what sickness it is, if you don't get better and getting worse, death is at your door. All right? But when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Whose faith is this? This woman. She's inducing the spirit of faith. She obviously didn't have it before because she got 12 years of this situation. And straightway, immediately, obviously she had a great level of faith. This wasn't no recovery period. This wasn't a little bit, feel a little better, not as much flow, it slowed up. Nope. Immediately, the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. In other words, the blood stopped and the pain was gone. Like that. Because it says in verse 28, for she said, but the translation says she kept saying. She built that thing up in her. That faith got it, that soon as he come by, I'm going to do it, I'm going to be whole. Nothing is going to stop. As soon as I touch, that's it. Then Jesus, immediately, of course immediately, because she got immediately healed. It was simultaneous. She touched him, he felt it. Jesus immediately, knowing in himself that virtue, his power, had gone out of him. He turned about in the press and said, who touched my clothes? Because remember, everybody around him touched him. And the disciples said it. You see the multitude thronging thee, and you say, who touched me? And he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. Wow. Now, I wonder, how did he recognize that? She had to somehow visually something. You know, I mean, if I was in the Baptist church, I'd say, hey, the miracle worker will always see the miracle. So he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, because she understood what the law was, she had no business being out in public. Because if blood is coming out of you, you considered unclean. But she got that word in it. Forget the law. Forget the stay-at-home order. I preached that good 2 years ago. All right. So the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. Because remember, her intentions was to get in there and get out. It's just she just got caught. And he wanted to know where did this great faith come from? Where did this faith come from? So she told him all the truth, and he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. While he yet spake, verse 35, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house a certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? This is an opportunity to faint. It gets no bigger than this is an opportunity to give up. Just stop right now. She gone. Ain't no sense in telling Jesus to come. She dead. Verse 36, as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, what's the first thing he said? Be not afraid. Because if fear would have got in there, she'd have stayed dead. Because Jesus knows if fear is there, faith is gone. Fear will wipe faith out. You can have faith up until 11:59. Let fear get in there right before midnight. It's gone. Because they are opposing forces. And that's the first thing Jesus said. Be not afraid. Fear not. One translation says, stop the fear. Don't stay in faith. Because he knows fear is the strongest hindrance or enemy to faith. You let fear get in there, she dead. She gonna stay dead. And when you let fear get in, and some of us, and I know this firsthand experience, and some of you do too, you don't just instantly jump right back in faith. You don't. Now you get back on track, get back and get in your confession, but soon you let fear in that, you can't jump right back in faith. Because it's a spirit. So first thing he tells Jairus, I know what they said, be not afraid. Don't you give it a voice. Don't you even give it a life. See, and that lets you know right there, once again, it takes courage. They didn't just told you this news. What you gonna do? Then he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter, James, and John. Now, obviously, Jairus stayed in faith. Because if fear would have been there, Jesus would have been like, well, what you want me to do? You know, if I'm in town, let me know when the funeral. No, I'm not joking. You know, we read these scriptures, but I really got to paint a picture to what's actually happening. So obviously Jairus stayed in faith for him to continue on. Because he like, don't you, I'm going on for your faith, for you told me, come lay your hands on my daughter so that she'll be healed and she'll live. That's the only thing Jesus focused on. He didn't lose focus because the woman with the issue of blood came and do stuff and other folks touching him. He ain't got to. Because he going off of your faith. You know. So he come to the house, verse 38, to the ruler's synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept and wailed greatly. And when he was come in, said unto them, what make do all of this weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleep. What else what is faith supposed to say? Because as far as Jesus is concerned, and as far as what Jairus said, Jairus came to Jesus. Jairus didn't say, she dead, I need you to come raise her up. He said, you come lay hands on her, she'll be healed, she'll live. So Jesus wasn't coming there for resurrection. That wasn't Jairus' faith, resurrection. So he said, she ain't dead, she's asleep. Because maybe when Jairus left, she was asleep. Maybe Jesus asked, okay, so, what's she doing right now? Well, she's asleep right now. Okay. That's all going on Jesus, she's asleep. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Let God be true and every man a liar. Now, some folks think Jesus lied. No, he wasn't. She's asleep. In verse 40, and they laughed him to scorn because, as I talked before, these were paid mourners. It ain't like they was real close people, really, you know. Because if you really think somebody dead, you crying. Then all of a sudden somebody come in and you start laughing. You know, at that time they just had paid mourners, you know. I was going to say something, but I don't want to say that. So they laughed him to scorn, but when he put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother damsel, and them with him, and enter in where the damsel was lying. He took the damsel by the hand, said unto her, Talita cumi, which is interpreted, Daniel, I say unto thee, arise, or get up, wake up. Sleepy time is over. And once again, immediately. See, this is the faith of Jairus, not Jesus. Now, there are many cases when Jesus' faith and Jesus did this and raised him about such a, but in many of these cases, ain't got nothing to do with it. Just like the woman with the issue of blood. He said, daughter, your faith made you whole. I didn't know you from Sally. It was Jairus' faith. He induced faith. Immediately the damsel arose, walked up, for she was the age of 12, and they were astonished with great astonishment. And he charged them straitly, saying, no man should know it, commanded that something should be given her to eat. Now, what am I saying? And I can go on and on and on with stuff. But the main point is, be absolutely sure that there's no fear in your life. And by all means, don't let pride tell you it's not fear. Like I said before, you know, don't let pride say, it ain't no fear. I'm just concerned about it. When we're told to not be anxious, because anxiety and anxiousness is fear. I ain't afraid. I'm just checking up on it. I'm just making sure.
Go ahead, Chef. Go ahead.
And I'm saying that really because, like I say, it's invisible. It could be hidden. And then sometimes you won't even detect it. But the devil know it. Because he operates out of fear. You know. So you have to, when I'm saying you, I'm saying everybody. You know, you got to check it like, okay, Lord, what's, and don't dress it up. You know, don't dress it up. Job tried to dress it up. You know. If regardless of what my kid's doing, if my faith is on it, that's it. That's it. I ain't sitting up there trying to police them and making sure. But Pat, I'm concerned. See, you're missing it. And that's why faith won't work. It will not work when there's a speck of fear. In any area. And see, and we could think it's all fine because I got my faith on the plane, but I got fear about my backache. I ain't getting no plane. It's not happening. It's not going to work. Now, I'm milking this on purpose. Now, I'm milking it because the Lord told me 2 days to do this. 2 days ago. And that's a hindrance. And we love Jesus. We love God. That's not the point. And that's why I say it takes courage. See, it'll take courage for me to not calling my kids every day to make sure they all right. But I'm concerned. See? Now, I'm using that. That can be anything. And the good example is that's what happened with Job. And that thing spread it in other areas. You know, and that goes with anything. I'm saying family, that can be your health, that can be finance, it could be relationship, all sorts of stuff. If I do this, I might lose. I won't get out of this relationship because if I do, but then I'm trying to believe God for finances, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, if you're not sure, ask God. Just like Job had to do. Where have I erred? Where did I err? What happened here? And ask God, and he'll tell you. He'll say, this is what a fear is. Yeah. That's what a fear is. I mean, I went through that some years ago, you know, with close people in my family. Like, okay, why am I kind of angry about this thing? And now, regardless of what was truth, that was never the issue. But why am I? And God dealt with me. You got fear. You're afraid they do this, the repercussions of it. So you ask God, he'll tell you. He said the fear is, because we'd be sitting up here saying, why is my, and I read you a certain story, and with Job's situation, all of this happened within a short period of time, but it was restored within, 9 months? So I need to kind of like, okay, something is going on. I ain't saying with everything, but some things. I've been in my faith on this for 5 years. Now, I ain't saying with everything, but some things. So, Lord, what? Got to locate the fear. What am I afraid? What's hindering? I'm doing the confessions, but something is. And it had nothing to do with what you got your faith on. It'd be on something else. That's why I said it ain't direct that. It could be something else. You know. If you believe in God for promotion, you got to fear you'll never get married. You ain't getting it. Now, I'm just saying that I can go down the line. I'm believing God for a house, but then you got to fear you can't pay your rent in the apartment. You're not getting it. Faith. Like I say, you can know how faith works, but it's not going to work if there's still some fear in some areas. Man, I thought I was going to get into planting your promise, but I guess not. Because I'm out of time. Before we go off there, I got a special announcement. This coming Sunday is Father's Day. And the Spirit of the Lord shared this with me a few days ago. I'm calling all men. All men. We're not just talking about Better Life, but those of you who watch us online, if you're not going to be at your church, I want you to meet me here, 5401 West Lake Street, for our 11:30 service. And the scriptures the Lord gave me was Romans 1 and 11. It says, "For I am yearning to see you, that I may impart and share with you some spiritual gift to strengthen you and establish you. I want to see you and share with you the same blessings that God's Spirit has given me. Then you will grow stronger in your faith." So I'm calling all men that we're calling this a transformational spiritual impartation. So when I'm saying men, males, boys, all men, wherever you at, meet me here, 5401 West Lake Street, Father's Day. Well, Pastor, I'm gonna be in my church. Well, some of you get out at 12:30. I usually don't get up to start preaching about 1 o'clock. So you're gonna have time. So calling all men, spread the word. God bless every heart. This has been Better Life Lessons. I'll see you this coming Sunday. Come on, let's give God a moment of praise. Glory to God. Thank you, Jesus.
Wasn't that an exciting word today? It was so great. And I'm so happy that I was here to hear the word. We're not out of word, but today we're out of time. On behalf of Better Life Faith Church, we would like to thank you for joining us for our live stream today. Before you leave our page, we would love for you to follow us, like us, and share us with a friend or family. If you like today's message, you're more than welcome to give us a call down below, and we'll get that message sent out to you. If you would like prayer today, you can call us, and one of our prayer warriors would love to come into agreement with you for your breakthrough. But as always, God bless you. When you learn better, you live